Hey, goldrush miners. Today, let's talk about Team Misfits, and honestly, if they're good enough to call themselves gold miners. Here's the rundown. Fred Lewis and his crew started in season 11. This is when COVID was a pandemic, and each one of the miners got a late start on the season. Many rules and regulations kept the miners from starting their seasons. Fred and his battle buddy Kendall, nephew to Freddie Dodge, went to Oregon, and yes, another miner did go there also. All right, so first task was, honestly, find a claim, prospect it, and make a deal. Fred was fortunate enough to find a claim. The owners originally wanted to sell the mine for $1 million and, honestly, wash their hands of it. I feel that this should have been a sign for things to come. With insufficient funds available, Fred offered royalties on all gold mined. The claim owners agreed to 15% of all gold mined. But first, Fred wanted to prospect the claim to see if it holds enough gold. In my head, I hear Tony Beats saying, "Drill, drill, drill." And I thought that was Fred's plan. But his idea of prospecting was to dig one hole and, honestly, hope for the best. Fred did find gold that would equal a half ounce of gold per 100 yards. After that, Fred shook his hands with the landowners, and off they went. Breakdowns, frustrations came along with the mine site and the equipment. From start to finish, the inexperienced miners were over their heads, and bumpy roads, well, they lay ahead. Now, let's talk about the crew. So, for experience, Fred and Kendall had all the experience, but their other fellow combat veterans, they had little to no experience. But for what they lacked in experience, they well made up for in motivation to get the job done. Now, I'm kind of going to go on a soapbox here for a moment. For some other channels that I have watched on YouTube, something honestly, pissed me off. When the narrator for Goldrush started his intro for Fred, he always says Special Force Combat Medic. And a lot of channels on YouTube had an issue with that. Comments like, "We know, you don't have to say this all the time." Well, I'm happy they mentioned that each and every time. Fred has earned that job title. He went through Special Forces training and accomplished goals and missions that we'll never know about. So, Fred, thank you very much for your service. For the first season, they stumbled and persevered through grit, and they finally finished their first season. Equipment somehow survived with band-aids and duct tape, but it was by far a successful season, mining 8.4 ounces of gold. But honestly, I remember Todd and Parker's first season, and they were by far good. Fred and his crew literally learned through trial and error how to be gold miners. And honestly, this season reminded me of Gold Rush Season 1, where the Hoffmans stumbled, made mistakes. They had a turnkey operation, and they honestly mined less gold than Team Misfits did. All right, now we have second season. Fred started his prospecting early and tried looking for ground in the lower 48 states. He was unable to find or lock in any deals, so he headed up to the Yukon and started looking up there. This, I believe, is the area that he should have gone to the entire time. Fred did reach out to Tony and Parker for advice, and unfortunately, they gave him the cold shoulder. This was because land was scarce and they needed the land themselves. Fred did find land, yet it was another turnkey operation, and this land was shown to have better gold than his previous site in Oregon. The landowners and Fred made a deal, but in the deal, they had expectations of the miner to run large amounts of pay dirt each week. Fred made the deal and started to get his crew together. Unfortunately, most of the miners that were with Fred in the first season did not want to come up to the Yukon for 6 months, and they needed to get other miners. Fred stayed true to his team of misfits and hired only veterans. Fred was able to get a team assembled, and they were off to the races. This season, like the previous, the miners fought through breakdowns, inexperienceness, water issues, and also government agents that are there to ensure that the miners are not contaminating the water. Fred battled adversity the entire way, and he kept up his spirits and a positive attitude, even when he felt failure was imminent. Fred was unable to meet the expectations of the landowners of the yardage each week. The wash plant they had, it just couldn't cut it. Fred did make friends with the neighboring miners and proposed a deal. Join forces, use their trommel, Fred's dirt, work around the clock, and split the gold 50-50. Doing this, Fred was able to achieve the yardage his landowners wanted, but most importantly, he hit his goal of 100 ounces. Now, I ask you, what is the future for Team Misfits? I feel that Fred has learned and is still learning. And if Fred is going to continue the trend of success, he needs to spend money to make money, newer equipment, and honestly, get away from those turnkey operations. I'm actually kind of excited to see what happens to Team Misfits. The sky is the limit, and honestly, Fred is in control of his destiny. All right, everybody. This has been a Gold Rush Minute. If you like the content, please hit that subscribe button that's on your screen. Here's another video from the Gold Rush Minute Library. Till the next time.